Coming up on episode 399 of Wheel Bearings, we've got the Nissan Versa, the Mustang GT Convertible California Special, the 2026 Lincoln Navigator, Slate's new truck, and a whole bunch of stuff from the Shanghai Motor Show. All that and more coming next. All right, this is episode 399 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Salmon from Telemetry.
And I am Nicole Wakelin of Let's Say Top Speed This Week.
Okay.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
Awesome. So Nicole, what you been driving?
So I've been driving a car. So here's the thing. When it's wintertime, if I get a car that's really capable, we're going to have unbelievably non-winter weather. If it's summer, if it's spring and I get a car that's perfect for spring,
we have snow this week, right?
We got flurries and rain. So what I had was a 2024 Mustang GT convertible premium with the California edition package. I put the top down once. It's like, son of a gun. And it wasn't just like it was chilly. I can handle chilly. I've got scarves. The car's heated. You can handle that, but I can't balance against torrential rain and wind. I was like, are you kidding?
You just have to drive faster.
I guess like really fast, just never stop, like slide into the driveway and close it real quick. So this is a super fun car. I mean, it's funny to review something like a Mustang because everyone's like, Mustang, muscle car, fun. Yep. That's pretty much it. That's exactly what this is. It's just stupidly fun. This has a 5-liter V8. I mean, V8s, which are like, they just sound so good. It's 480 horsepower and 418 pound-feet of torque. Mine had a 10-speed automatic, and it's called the California Special. That's really just an appearance package that you can add to any of the GT premium trims. It's not available on any version of the Mustang because there's a bunch. But it's $2,195 just to add that package. And it gives you rave blue accents, which makes me sound like we should be like at one of Robbie's concerts. Like thank you. Mm-hmm. Rave blue.
I'll just do this the whole time.
The whole time. So that gives you you get interior accents, like there's stitching that's blue. You get little blue bits here and there, mostly on the outside. Like the wheels have blue, the grille has blue. If you look at the badge on the back, it very slightly says California Edition, but it's in the black, so it's kind of hard to see. But it's pretty. It's just an appearance package. It doesn't do anything functional to the car. So this is just, it's ridiculously fun to drive. The only thing it has, so convertible tops, I don't know why these aren't as easier than they are. So it's as simple that you reach up in the middle and there's a little latch that folds down and you twist it, and then but it feels weird. Like it's one of those things you twist. You're like, did I twist that all the way? Do I twist further or do I break off that piece? Do I stop here? Like it's a little bit like I wanted to more define, like definitely go like click when it's open and click when it's closed. And then it's a power retracting. So you just have to unlock it and then it power retracts. And the same thing when it comes back up, it doesn't close all the way. So you have to pull down just a tiny skosh. It's easy. But then again, you're like, did I pull down enough? Click. Is it really in? I feel like it's not, I don't know. Somehow I was always doubting. Like I wanted to push up. Like, is it really released? Is it really secured down? It made me question it. So, but it's so fun to drive a Mustang. Even for the one day I got to drop the top, it was glorious. There's so much power in this. It accelerates so strongly. It sounds like a Mustang. You have that glorious noise that wakes up the neighbors. The negative about driving a Mustang is it's a Mustang. It handles beautifully in a straight line. It's not as fun in a corner, like a swooping corner coming on and off the highway. You do feel like you want to slow down a little bit. It felt every single pothole left over from the winter on the New England roads. You don't just kind of know they're there. You're like, boom, there's one. Boom, there's another one. Boom, so it is not a smooth ride in that regard. I mean, when you're on a highway, awesome. But if you're on side roads, it's just designed to be sporty. It has a very sporty suspension system. So you feel everything. If you don't want that, don't buy a sporty car. Like that's what you're going to get in any car that's really kind of sporty like this. It also has the It looks like a handbrake, but it's not a handbrake. It's the electronic drift brake, which basically is not designed for messing is not designed for messing around on the roads, ladies and gentlemen. This is for, closed course, unprofessional driver. Don't do this on the roads. When you pull it up, it actually locks the rear wheels so that you can drift. You can have some fun with it, which I did not do in this one. But when they introduced this and they had the launch program, they actually had the opportunity for us to all try this out. I'm not someone who drifts cars very often. I'm like, how well is this going to go? It was awesome. I think by the second try, excuse me, like the first time, like, I'm not quite sure. And I'm like, okay. The second try, I'm like, oh, I got this. Third try, I'm like, wee. It was so much fun. So it takes you a couple tries to sort of get the feel for it if you haven't used it before, but it is ridiculously fun. I mean, I love driving a Mustang. I don't love driving it on bumpy roads, and I'm mad at Mother Nature that it was a convertible that I could only use one day. But it's the kind of car people look at, and I had for 1 minute behind me in the rearview mirror, I had a classic Mustang behind me in traffic. It was that sort of light steel blue. It was this beautiful with all that chrome on it. And I'm really
Yeah.
it was gorgeous. And I'm just looking at it in my rearview mirror. I can't tell you anything more than it was vintage, beautiful Mustang. And we ended up passing each other at a light. And like we gave each other a little thumbs up, like, yeah, that's a pretty nice car. Yeah, yours is too. Frankly, that old Mustang was cooler. It was so pretty. I love old Mustangs. I just think they're gorgeous. But this one was very fun to drive. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you're looking for that Mustang experience, that muscle car, and if you want, like, there's a whole bunch of appearance packages that you can get. I was checking in their online configurator. You can give it bronze, you can give it black, you can give it this rave blue, cue Robbie. You can do the any kind of color, all this different stuff. So you can make it look the way you want it to look. And it's going to drive like a Mustang with, 480 horsepower with a V8. And it's going to scratch that itch for having a really powerful, aggressive, fun muscle car. So I loved it. Pricing wise, that you probably aren't going to love as much because it's not cheap. So this is showing me. So I told you the California special package adds just over $2,000, $2,195. And this is the premium, the GT premium. So it's got all the bells and whistles inside. It's not like it's stripped down or anything. But the price on this is $69,435.
That's a lot of money for a Mustang.
It's a lot
Remember when
of
Mustangs
money.
used to be affordable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They aren't right now. And the thing is too, this is, they say it's a four passenger. No, it's not.
It's got 4 seat belts.
It has 4 seat belts. So if you have someone who literally does not have a lower half to their body, it might work. But Russ sat down in this, he pushed the seat back. So it's all the way back against, like, the seat back of the front seat is against the seat cushion on the back seat. And he still is like a little squished up front. There's no way you'd have to be like 2 Jill Simonillos could sit front and behind each other. That's it. And Jill is under 5 feet tall. No, Robbie and Russ could not sit behind each other.
No, we're not going.
No, me and Sam could not sit front and back from each other in this. There's just no room in that back seat. So it's a great little place to put your groceries. That's about it. So that was my Mustang experience, which is really fun. It's always kind of fun to have a car like that's so, like, everybody knows what a Mustang is. Even if you aren't a car person, even if you know the first thing about cars, like, ooh, that's a Mustang, and you know what it is.
Would you say is it worth $2,200 for the California special package just for some stripes and a few
the only way I would do it,
blue accents?
It does look nice. I mean, if you want it to look kind of fun, if you want a special color, but then you can just get fancy colors of the Mustang too. You don't have to get this package. I don't know.
Yeah, they have that was it molten magenta metallic tri-coat.
Right. They have crazy colors that you can get.
Blue.
Anyway, like Grabber Blue. I don't know if you want an eye-catching one, go get Grabber Blue. And I don't know, but what is Grabber Blue add? Probably not $2,100.
$395.
Okay, so $395. you can have yourself.
And you get it on the whole car,
Mhm.
not just a few select little details.
The
Right?
whole thing gets grabber blue.
So I mean, if you really want an eye catching, go with a grabber blue. I don't know that it's enough for me that I would be paying $2,000 for it. But again, you're already paying over 60 grand. If you really like it, have at it.
Yeah.
You know, you're already up there in that rarefied air of a car that's pushing $70,000. So go for it. You know, I would personally not go for it. I would save the 2 grand, I think, and get grabber blue.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so that's the Mustang GT convertible premium California edition special. There you go.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, I also had a blue car with 4 wheels and everything, and
Oh,
it
I
actually
can
can hold
see,
4 adults.
and I can see that it is exactly similar in power and style and probably price, right?
Actually, it's a little more affordable, slightly more
Slightly,
affordable.
yeah.
Yeah. In
Scooch.
fact, at this point, I believe it is now by far the most affordable car still available in the U.S. market.
I think it is.
At least for now, until they start to apply the tariff increases.
Well, it still
But
might be the most.
It
Well,
still
no,
might
well,
be.
yeah, it'll still be the most affordable, just not as affordable.
not as affordable. Yeah.
So
Right.
so I had the 2025 Nissan Versa, which got a little bit of a mid-cycle update for, I can't remember if it was this year or last year.
I think it was
But
last year. Yeah.
so it's got a slightly revised grille, slightly revised lights. Still basically the same car it has been for a few years, which is actually, for what is a basic entry-level car, you can get the Nissan Versa S, the base model, at a starting MSRP of $17,190. I think this might be the only car that you can get for under $20,000, brand new right now.
Which is crazy cheap. Like
Yeah,
$17,000 for
yeah,
a brand new car, guys, not like a used car.
and that's with a 5-speed manual transmission.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can actually get a car with a manual transmission for under 20 grand.
Bam.
Yeah, see if you can get that from Porsche or BMW today.
You cannot.
Yeah, take
You
that,
Definitely
cannot.
Porsche. We showed them.
Yeah.
You
Put Porsche on
cannot.
notice. Why can't I get a Porsche for under 20 grand?
And if you if for some inexplicable reason you don't know how to manage 3 pedals at once, you can also get it with a CVT, which is what most of the Versas that they sell are CVTs, and those start at $18,990. So it's like I say, this is not a fancy car.
Mm-mm.
It's not luxurious, but it's actually, for something that you can get for $20,000, it's actually surprisingly good. There's, it's not particularly powerful. It's like 120 horsepower or something like that, but it also doesn't weigh very much. It's not huge, but you can seat an adult behind an adult driver.
Yes,
You could seat Robbie behind Robbie.
you could.
Bam. I can
Mhm.
go anywhere. I can go.
and still
I can
have,
take me places.
yeah. You can plug in your phone, and actually you don't even need to plug in your phone. It will do wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And that's standard. Well, even on that base model, you can if you go up to the top trim level, the SR, which starts at I know it's probably beyond the budget of most people, but it's up to a whole $21,190 for an SR. But you get the SR. It's got a wireless charging pad in there. It's actually a pretty decent place to spend time. It doesn't feel like you're being there's a lot of hard plastic surfaces, but that they're nicely textured. This is actually a really good basic car. I would probably recommend going for the SV, especially if you live somewhere where there are potholes, because I didn't have a problem this time, but the last time, a couple of years ago, that I had a Versa SR, it's on 17-inch alloy wheels, and they're 50 series tires. And I sacrificed a tire to a pothole last time around. This time I managed to get through the week without doing that.
Well done.
But you might want to go with the SV if you live somewhere with potholes, so you get a little more sidewall, 16-inch wheels, 16-inch alloy wheels. But if even in the SR, it's actually it's not crazy loud. It's not like driving a Rolls Royce, but it's reasonable. It's got enough sound insulation in there. It's funny, my wife and I went out to dinner. She opened the door, and she felt, as soon as she opened the door, she commented on how hollow the door felt.
Mm.
Which is true.
Mhm.
But this is what you get for $20,000.
Right.
But it's still, once you close the door, it's not like it's rattling or anything. You're not getting a lot of echoes in there. There's enough, like I said, enough insulation in there that it's you're not going to feel like you made a terrible mistake every time you drive it.
When I drove it, the newest version of the Versa, I thought the same thing. You know that this isn't an expensive car. You know that it's an affordable model. But if you're an entry level buyer, you're right out of college, or you're just someone on a budget, or you just want a commuter car to get you A to B, this is a great little car. And the thing is, it's new. So it comes with all the new car warranty stuff that comes with any new car. So you're not having to buy a beater that you're going to have to fix. You're buying something new. I think the Versa is a great deal. People tend to hate on it, but like, if you're not buying a $70,000 Mustang.
Yeah, I mean, so many of our colleagues, are so used to driving much more expensive cars that, yes, they are much nicer in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, when you look at, who actually buys cars, this is the kind of car a lot of people need. And we'll talk a little bit later about a cheap vehicle, or what is at least purported to be a cheap vehicle. We'll see how it actually plays out in real time. But, this is a car that has a dealer network. If you have a problem, you can find lots of Nissan dealers around that will service it. They've got parts. And like you said, it's got a warranty, a 3-year warranty. It's got the features that you need. That SR that I was driving,
Mm-hmm.
it had radar adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring.
And it's $21,000. That is a crazy price when you think about what you're actually getting for that. I think it's a great car. I love that thing.
The rear backup camera is a bit of a potato cam, but it's not real high resolution, but it's sufficient that you can tell if there's something behind you that you don't want to back into. But
Or
other
you
than
can
that,
just turn around. I drive my
what
BRZ
are
all
you
the
talking about?
time,
Looking over your shoulder? Why would
and I
you
have
want
to
to do
look
that?
over my shoulder all the time because I don't have a choice.
Yeah. So, like you said, Nicole, a lot of people hate on the Versa, but I think it's a really good entry level offering.
I do
And,
too.
the one that I had was basically maxed out. It was $425 for the premium paint, the blue paint. $280 for the carpeted floor mats and trunk mat, and $885 for the electronics package, which frankly you could probably take a pass on that. As a map pocket light, illuminated kick plates, and frameless auto dimming mirror. The auto dimming mirror is really the only thing that is pretty useful, but the rest, I mean, you don't actually need it. I mean, it's not that hard to reach up and flip the little tab and dim the mirror when you're driving at night. So all in, fully loaded, including destination charge, $23,920.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a
And
great price.
you want to guess at the destination charge?
Oh, $995.
I was going to say $895, which I know is too low. We're going to go $895 anyway.
Okay, it's $1140, so Robbie gets it.
There we go.
And not only is the car cheap, it also doesn't use a lot of gas. On my fuel economy loop, got 36 miles per gallon, which is slightly better than the 35 EPA rating. It's 32 city, 40 highway, 35 combined. I got 36 on my fuel economy loop. Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong. The only downside right now is it is produced in Mexico. It's assembled in Mexico, which means that at some point in the not too distant future, they're going to run out of the inventory that they have on dealer lots, and new inventory coming in is going to get slapped with a 25% tariff, or it's going to see some price increase. And, so probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%. So you're probably looking at $3,000 or $4,000 more because of tariffs. But aside from that, if you need a basic, cheap new car, get the Versa. You're not going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm. It's a great car. I agree.
Yeah. It also, I forgot to mention, at that price, it includes your first 3 scheduled oil changes within 2 years or 24,000 miles.
Bam.
So you don't even have to pay for oil changes for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. It's a deal, man.
Yeah.
And it's a solid little car.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it rides better than a Mustang. Doesn't handle better Mustang, but it rides better. So that's the 2025 Nissan Versa SR.
Going online without ExpressVPN is like leaving your laptop unattended at the coffee shop while you run to the bathroom. Most of the time, you're probably fine. But what if one day you come out of the bathroom, your laptop's gone? Nicole, Robbie, and I all travel frequently for our work, and that means we end up connecting to open, unknown Wi-Fi networks in coffee shops like the one I was working in California last week, the Delta Sky Club in Detroit this morning, and the Puerto Rico hotel room I'm in right now. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to intercept data on an open network. A smart 12-year-old with a cheap Wi-Fi pineapple can do it. Once they've grabbed your login information or other unencrypted data, they can make up to $1,000 per person selling it on the dark web. ExpressVPN creates a secure, encrypted tunnel between your devices and the destination you're connecting to, so they see nothing but random gibberish. All you have to do is launch the app or have it launch automatically when your device starts, and then one click protects your data. I have ExpressVPN on my MacBook Pro, Windows machines, Android phones, Chromecast, and it also works on iOS, Linux, most TV streamers, and even many routers to protect your whole network. When I look at my Wi-Fi settings on my phone or laptop, I find several hundred networks I've connected to over the years. I'm recording this ad right now sitting in a hotel room in Puerto Rico, and like every one of those open Wi-Fi networks, I use ExpressVPN to protect the data that I send to various servers and the materials I download. I often get embargoed materials from automakers and suppliers that isn't supposed to be shared until a specific date and time, so it's important that it gets downloaded securely on an encrypted network. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. That's expressvpn.com/wheelbearings to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months for free. expressvpn.com/wheelbearings.
Ugh, spam calls. Sound familiar? Introducing Line 2. Get a second phone number right on your existing phone. Imagine discounts, appointments, online forms. Handle it all without giving out your personal number. It's like having a secret weapon against spam. And when those unwanted calls sneak through, boom, blocked. No more interruptions, no more stress. Stay connected, stay protected. Keep your main number safe and out of harm's way. Ready to take back your phone? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right. Let's stick with what are intended to be affordable cars.
I like how you phrase that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. And Robbie, I think you were in Long Beach on Thursday night.
I was in Long Beach on Thursday night.
And you got to see something new.
I did get to see something new.
And
And I saw the Slate. I was there for the unveiling of the Slate, and um, I'm going to tell you, I like everything about it. I like the fact that it doesn't have an infotainment system. I like the fact that it's inexpensive. I like the fact that it's customizable. I like the fact that it's hopefully inexpensive. um, I like the fact that I got in it and I fit, and it's
That surprised me.
yeah. So I got in there and I'm like, oh, okay, because that was my big concern. What if I sit in this thing and I don't fit? And I'm like, well, there you go. Now you've just ruined it for everyone who's tall. No, I actually fit. I was like, wow, this is okay. Well, I was impressed by that. That was a thing. Um, it's. I think there are people who are concerned, like, well, people don't want to buy two-door cars, two-seat cars. I'm like, well, they can, I can see that, but I think there are people that kind of do want to buy those. I was at that event and I had just regular normies texting me about that car and putting down $50 deposits. And like $50 is nothing, to be honest, when it comes to deposit. But there are regular people who like, oh yeah, I just want a car. I don't want an infotainment system. I don't want all the whiz bang crazy things. I think there is a hunger for that sort of vehicle. People are just like, I don't use any of this stuff. I plug my phone in maybe, but I don't use any of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, in the chat, or rather in the Discord, Todd K commented. So my wife's not a car person, but she saw the Car and Driver and TFL truck videos for the Slate and really liked it. She actually likes the stripped down aspect of it, fewer things to break. The last vehicle she was this interested in was the Honda Element. I guess she likes boxes on wheels. Since she's so enthusiastic about it, we decided to put in a reservation. What the heck? It's only $50.
Boom, and that's pretty much where. Yeah, that's it is one. It almost feels the barrier for entry is so low, and there are people who are like, I would like an electric car, but I really don't need all these things. I really don't need all the whiz bang fancy bits that people like. Unlike the Maverick, which was when it launched, it had no what do you call it?
No cruise control.
No cruise. It has cruise control, which so
Woohoo!
boom. I guess there you go. But there are a lot of
That's about the only thing it's got.
yeah. That's pretty much it. And I don't even use. I hate cruise control.
So do I. I thought I was the only person who hated it. I hate driving
No,
with cruise control.
when I got my car, my Honda Civic, it was my first sort of, at the time, car from the same time, in the 90s. It had cruise control and I was all excited and I used it for like 10 minutes on the freeway after I got the car. I'm like, well, this is dumb. I'm like, and I just never used it again. It was just a big dusty button that was never touched ever again. I think that there is a potential. I think if you're a big nerdy person like myself, and whether you're nerdy in a bunch of like sort of nerdy and pragmatic, it seems like a pretty sweet deal. That's where it comes down. Like, oh, I want to be able to customize it and do all these weird things, or I just need to get from A to B with this vehicle, or I think Mini Trucking Magazine, I think they should like buy like 5 of these. But the timeline is Q4 next year. So next year of 2026 is production. While I was there, I talked to the CEO of Slate and the CEO of SK On, and they had literally, like, I walked backstage and they had literally signed a paperwork for a 6-year deal for SK to deliver batteries for them. And I talked to both of them. And the SK CEO he just kept telling me he was so touched. Like, he was emotional about how much he believes that people deserve and people need an inexpensive electric car. For him, this was like a huge deal. And this is, SK is not a startup. SK is a huge battery. They deliver batteries to important people with important
SK is a
cars.
typical Korean kaibal, a conglomerate that does everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, they are a very large, yeah. And so that gave me, any sort of like some of the, I still have there's always going to be pause when when you're talking about startups, automotive startups, because building one car is really, really hard. Building 100 cars is impossible. Building cars at scale, well, good luck, I guess. Um, they really do believe in their, they're like, well, we don't have a paint shop, so we don't have to worry about that, and we don't have, we're not doing, casting, because we're doing, it's like injected, these molded, like, composite uh, panels for the vehicle, and they we're not, you get a roll up window, you don't get a power window, and we there a lot of the weird sort of supply issues and production issues that really sort of hinder a lot of startups. Like they've just like, we're just not going to do that, and we're not going to do that in a way that makes sense for us and for the people who want to buy these trucks. And so again, it's everything. Everyone seems very smart. Everyone seems very capable. Everyone seems they know what they're doing. Everyone seems like it doesn't feel like a Faraday. I remember visiting Faraday and being like, "Oh, this isn't going to happen." Every time I went to Faraday, I was like, "Well, here we go." And I felt the same way with Fisker. I was like, "Well, Fisker just kept adding complexity to their vehicle, and this company just keeps pulling it out. They're like, nope, 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 nope. That seems really, nope, pull it out. Nope, pull it out.
Well, they're letting customers add the complexity.
Yeah, so you can
Right.
add your own stuff, which again, I got 2 3D printers at this point in my life. And I'm like, well, they're like, well, it doesn't come with a car stereo. I'm like, yeah, but someone's going to 3D print the chassis for a head unit, and someone's going to 3D print the, and they're going to put it up online, and everyone's going to download it. They're going to 3D print it, and they're going to put it in their car. It is very much a tinkerer car. It is very much I just need a car. Are they going to sell, 150,000 units a year? I don't know. That seems sort of insane. But I think there's potential for 60. That said, I know there's a lot of people who are just like, well, I just don't understand why anyone would buy this car. And I see this a little bit from like some of the younger journalists, because they've never had a car without 4 doors. They've
With
never
roll
had
up windows, right? There's
roll-up
crank
window.
windows, right? Doesn't it have crank windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has crank windows.
Yeah.
I think there's those have never been vehicles that were available to them, and so it seems, outside of like, old cars. So I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic for what they're doing. I really like the idea personally. Um, I know, Sam, you probably have a lot of data that says, well, people want this or they don't want that, or people are thinking this, and
Yeah, well, I
so
mean, there's data about what people are actually buying, but I wrote an article that's on the telemetry website. There's a link in the show notes. Where I said, this is going to be a fascinating market research experiment, because a lot of people say they want something basic. But when you look at it, the Maverick, of course, it's a great example. When it launched, it had the base XL model for $20,000 with a hybrid, but most people didn't buy that one. Some people did, like my next door neighbors bought one, but most people bought, an XLT or a Lariat, because they wanted these other features on there. And, the big question is, how many people, how many Americans, when it comes down to it, are actually going to be willing to sacrifice those features that they've become accustomed to. They say they want something simple, but what they say and what they do, aren't always the same thing.
it's the
Yeah.
manual transmission conundrum.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like, all these, I if I see, especially a lot of Gen X like parents, they're like, oh yeah, a manual transmission is millennial, anti, theft device, blah blah blah. Who's buying? Their Gen X is not buying manual transmissions. It is the millennials that are buying manual transmissions. And and I asked those
Gen
people,
Xers like me are too old. They don't want to mess around with a clutch anymore.
Right.
yeah. And so it's funny, because these people, I've confronted a few of them. I'm like, do you own a car with a manual transmission? They're like, well, no. I'm like, then shut up. But yeah, it is very much like, oh, everyone wants a wagon. Volvo gave us a wagon. No one bought it.
Mhm.
Everyone wants, a manual transmission. There's like, outside of the enthusiast world, no one's buying manual transmissions unless they're getting the Nissan Versa and the base trim level. So yeah, there is this very weird, like, there's a thing people say they want, but do they really want it? Is that what they really want? And so yeah, so I'm curious to see how the market, how people, if they really are going to buy these like, for me, I mean, I really like my Ioniq 5, and it's called all the little goofy bells and whistles that come with a modern electric vehicle. But I also really like my BRZ with an infotainment system that really you just plug your phone in so you can play music.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
It doesn't do anything else. And there's big knobs for the heating and the cooling, and I have to look behind me when I back out, and all those sort of all those sort of things, um, sort of makes this an interesting vehicle for a lot of people. Um, but does it make an interesting vehicle that's worth buying? And they're really sort of leaning on the hope. When I see a lot of headlines that says under $20,000, I'm like, well, there should be an asterisk at every one of those headlines, because
Yeah,
they're
no,
you
nobody should be publishing that $20,000 in the price, because, or in their headlines, because that is based on the assumption that you're going to get an IRA tax credit in
Right.
Q4 of 2026, which it may be true, but there's also a strong possibility it won't be. So, the price, the minimum price you're going to have to pay is actually not even the 25,000 we've been talking
it's
about.
27. I don't know why
Yeah.
everyone keeps saying 25, because if
Well,
it's
that was
just
the
under
rumor
20.
before.
Yeah, that was the
25.
room, but everyone was just kept saying that was true, and I'm like, no, that's not, because if it's just under $20,000, I'm like, yeah, it's $27,000. That's the number I've
That's
heard.
19,950 with the
Yeah,
tax
that's
credit.
Mhm.
19,950 with the tax credit, which is like, okay, yeah, that's great, but it depends on whether or not the tax credit sticks around. And there's like, I think at an emotional level, I think the administration wants to get rid of it, but on a more pragmatic level, it turns out a lot of Republican governors, a lot of their constituents
They
have
like those
jobs.
thousands of battery plant jobs and EV plant jobs that have been generated in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they're all in their districts, and they're all in, they're thousands upon thousands of people who are in their, that vote for them, and there are taxpayers within their district. Those people are making money based on all that stuff. And so I think on one hand, there was a lot of bluster about it, but I think what's going to happen is, I'm hoping what's going to happen is they just kind of ignore it and focus on all these other things. I don't want them focusing on the other things, to be honest, but I think out of all the sort of like, these are the things that are going away, I think it will probably stick around. That said, this company is betting a lot on that sticking around, which I don't know if I would bet on that. I don't know if I would base a company on that. So yeah, there's a lot of sort of what ifs. There's a lot of chaos in the automotive industry for absolutely everyone. Doesn't matter where your cars are built. You're dealing with, the chaos that's been created financially, and so yeah, I anytime there's a new automaker, especially an American automaker, I'm rooting for them. I want, because a new
Mhm.
automaker means that there's choice. That means that if this truck does really well, that means it's going to put everyone else on notice. I'm driving like an $80,000 Silverado right now. It's a Silverado EV, which is the complete opposite of the vehicle that I saw the other day. And to
Well,
be honest,
I have an F-250 XL. This
yeah.
is a
So
work
yeah,
truck in my
yeah,
driveway that is $80,000.
Right?
yeah. And so when you're like, oh, I could buy four of those, four of these, and put them in the trunk and drive them around and deploy them.
And with 4 slates, you've got twice as much payload as I've got in that one F-250.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very it's I'm I you know a- again, me personally, I am like, this is perfect. This is the perfect like entry level cheap EV sort of workhorse. I can do things with it. I can customize it. I can take the back of the the truck out and then just have it open air, and I can put the, I can just get the roll cage and put some seats back there, and boom, I've just recreated the Subaru Brat. I can do all these things with this truck, and I don't have to buy it all up front. I can wait for, I can pay for these customizations later and just have them shipped to my house, and they're going to put out all the, they're going to do the YouTube videos like everyone else does, but they're also working with apparently they're working with a bunch of service centers around the country to sort of, train them so you can just bring your Slate in and get it done. And, it's direct to customers, so you don't have to worry about going in. They're like, oh yeah, this car is now $7,000 more because everyone wants it. So they're not dealing with the dealer network, and it's on paper. And again, for people like me, it's great. That's how many people are there like me? That's the question.
Yeah.
I question how much it's a great idea. And like you said, if it's successful, that's very cool because that does put everybody on notice. I just question how many people actually want this. Like you said, how many people are going to buy it? $50? Sure. Put down a bazillion deposits on this. But when it comes down to it and you look at it and you see, well, it doesn't have this one little thing I want, or it doesn't have that. Suddenly, how much have you added to that one piece at a time?
You can add all that
I know,
stuff.
but how much have you added? Like,
that's my next question for Robbie is, did they give any indication? Like, you can get this cap on the back and put extra seats in it and turn it into a 2-door SUV. But how much is that? Did they give any indication of what that's going to cost?
That's the thing. They didn't give us any pricing information. I'm guessing that thing's going to cost like, a couple grand at least, probably $3,000 to $4,000 at the very least, more likely like $5,000. So I think they're when they're looking at making money off these vehicles, because it's really difficult, to make money on an inexpensive vehicle. That's why we have, F-150s that cost, $110,000, because those are money makers for Ford. And so, so I think they're looking at a lot of the little weird customizations, all the little accessories that you can buy. That's where they're going to make the money. And I'm like, oh, it's like Gillette. Like, you sell them the razor, you make a little bit of money off the off the handle for the razor blade, but then you make money off the actual razors over the course of the lifetime of the vehicle. And I think that's where they're hoping people are going to be like, well, I'm just going to buy this one thing. And they're like, oh, maybe I should get this other thing. And I'm going to get this other thing.
And now I'm going to get this other thing. You're talking about a $35,000
exactly
that you customize, but
crossover.
but it's the same thing with a Wrangler. Like, people buy like a $30,000 Wrangler, and now it's a $60,000 because they just keep adding things to it.
But at $35,000, let's say it's $35,000 to turn this into a 4-seat crossover
with the big battery.
SUV.
Let's say, because this is coming with a 150 kilowatt hour battery, or 150 miles, of range, or 250
okay,
miles.
So let's say the bigger battery pack. Now you're looking maybe $37,000. That kind of price, you can buy a Bronco Sport.
See, that's, I think, what happens. I think once you start adding the bits and pieces, and again, we don't know the price, but that's where the problem is.
There?
Because then suddenly you've taken your car that was sub 20 and you've made it, let's just say you made it 30. Well, there's a lot of other stuff in that price range suddenly it's just as appealing, that might have more. You know what I mean?
Well, it's really, I don't think a Bronco Sport's a fair comparison. I think like the Kona electric, the Nero electric.
Okay.
I think other electric vehicles. I think they're still, this is an electric car.
But
these are people who are buying, who understand they're paying a premium for this vehicle. But yeah, when you add these things to it, now you have a Kona, and you're like, well, if I make an SUV or a crossover out of this, I can just get the Kona electric, and it's just ready to go. I don't have to think about 3D printing things. And that is not the customer. They are never going to win that customer over, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's the people who like me who like to tinker with stuff and who like to mess around with stuff. And it's the people who are like, I'm just going to buy the cheapest one, and it's going to be my work truck, like the guy down the street who has a Maverick who does gopher things. And they, I see more Mavericks wrapped with like, business stuff. I think that, they're going to get a lot of people who are just going to buy it, they're going to wrap it, and they're going to use it for their business. And they're going to get the people who are, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to customize the, and take it to car shows. And they got the people who are, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to customize it for my nerdy things. Those are the people who, I can just do this on my own. And talking to them, they're very much like, we very much want to work with like sort of the maker community and give them the reference files so they can 3D print, they can fabricate the things that they want for this vehicle. which to me that's sort of a selling point for me. Building all that's like cutting the wood and 3D printing stuff for the Maverick when I did my video for it made me want to have a Maverick more than the price point.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I can do all these fun little things with it, because that is where my brain, that's like my happy place in my brain, as I like doing things and tinkering with things. And I think they're again, they're targeting me. Your average person who just wants a car to go, I want an electric car, I want an SUV, they're going to end up with the Kona, electric, or the Nero electric, or the new Bolt whenever that comes out.
New Bolt. And it's going to depend. Whether they can make this work depends on how many Robbies there are out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, how
That's
many
the key.
Robbies?
Just how many Robbies are there out there?
I asked them, like, who is the customer, and they're like, everyone says everyone, and that's what I got. It's like sort of everybody is, there's that niche within everyone who, like, what, I just want a cheap, it's the people who have like a really nice Honda Accord in their house, and then they have like a super cheap, like the Nissan Kicks or the Versa. It's a person like, oh, I have a Versa. Oh, I can get an electric car for about the same price as a Versa. And okay, yeah, that's fine. And then I'm going to plug in my phone anyway, or they could have bought a new car, or they could buy a used car, and the used car they're probably going to have to plug their phone in. So like, well, I'll just plug my phone in, I don't care. And I'm used to driving around with my phone plugged into my car, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. But to be honest, whenever the Bronco was first announced, we didn't know anything about it. Every time any new car is unveiled, they're like, we ask them 1,000 questions, they give us 0 answers, and the default answer is, well, as we get closer to production, we'll have pricing. As we get closer to production, we'll tell you the battery capacity. As we get closer to production, we'll tell you like the charge rate. And at least at least they told us the charge rate, and they told us it's going to be outfitted with NACS. And we know when it'll go in production. But new car companies it's not an easy, so
I
we'll
hope
see.
they succeed. I want them to
Yeah.
succeed. I'm
I do
nervous
too.
about them succeeding. I have so many questions, and maybe as pricing and things get closer, and it, like you said, everything comes out, it might seem a little less scary. But right now, I'm a little nervous. Like, this is a great idea. How many people buy it? How expensive is it going to get?
Again, it's the manual transmission conundrum. It's the wagon conundrum. It's the like the
Right.
car that I want doesn't mean that the general public wants.
Right. I want it to work. It seems so cool, but I'm like, I'm nervous.
But unlike those manual transmission cars that I go and drive, and a lot of other cars, like normies don't typically text me while I'm at an event, and say, hey, what do you think about this car? Okay, I just put the $50 deposit down. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, okay. And they like one of my friends who did this is one of those people who like really picks everything, like they research things way more than I do, and I'm very picky about what I buy because I'm a cheap man. And this person is like worse than me, and they're like, well, I gave him $50 to be on their mailing list.
Basically.
And so yeah, I think that $50 price point is sort of genius, because it's just enough where you're like, well, I'm dedicated, but there's not a huge barrier. It's not $2,000
for anybody that's even remotely financially stable enough to even consider buying a new car. $50 is throwaway money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's you're like, okay, well, I just won't, we won't eat out on, this Friday. We'll stay home and eat mac and cheese or something. So it's I didn't eat out.
That's 2 weeks worth of Starbucks.
Yeah, it's 2. Wait, how much is 4, 5, 10? Yeah, that's about 2 weeks worth of Starbucks.
25. Yeah, that is. Robbie and I are doing math. Wait a minute. Yep, that's right.
Sam making us do math. Damn you, Sam.
Right? Sam, come on.
Come on. So
somebody's gotta do it.
I talked to the, and I think what really sort of cemented my, to make me feel that it's more likely to happen than not to happen was the SK deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have a time, you can't just kind of mess around and think of fun ideas. You can't pull an Elon Musk where you're like, we're going to make the machine that makes a machine, like, and have this huge delay. Like they don't have the opportunity to have a huge delay because they have the backing. They're partnering with this very large company, and so now it kind of puts the pressure on them to do the thing, which is
SK's already got two factories in Georgia that are turning out, tens of thousands of cells a day. That currently they supply those to Ford, but by the second half of this year, Ford is going to be using cells produced from their SK joint venture in Kentucky, in place of the ones coming from the dedicated SK only owned plant in Georgia. And SK is going to have extra capacity available there, so they don't have to build a new factory. It's already there, and they've already done a deal. SK recently also announced a deal with Nissan to supply cells to them, when they start actually producing the new Maxima and Infinity EVs in Mississippi. But so this is a no-brainer, to work with SK, because it's already there, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that part of it.
Yeah, but you kind of, you don't want to be the people who blew this, and
Yeah.
it just seems like there's a lot of smart, like, actual. I've covered tech for a very long time, and I've covered, and I've been in the room with the CEOs and the people who are just sort of doing it because it seems like this is the thing that's going to make them money. They don't quite know what they're doing. They don't really have the passion. They have a fake passion. I've seen a lot of fake passion in my days, but all they see is number signs. And in the talking with Chris Barman and Dr. Lee from SK. Chris Barman is the CEO of Slate. I was like, okay, these people get it and they care, but getting it and caring doesn't make a car. Like, you got to do the work, and I think we're all like sort of fingers crossed, but yeah, it'll be like Sam said, it's going to be extremely interesting to see how this plays out, because if they come out the gate and they're selling 40,000 units a year the first year, that's crazy. That's and and again,
More sales than Cybertruck.
more sales than Cybertruck, but it's insane because you think about, like, we'll talk the Bolt. It was hitting it nearly hit 70,000 units when GM killed it, because at some point people saw it and they're like, oh, I just need an EV. I don't need, like, really fast charging. I don't need all these things. I just need to drive around. This isn't that expensive. Well, I'll just buy this. And then just sort of like it just sort of like snowballed and got bigger and bigger and bigger with those sales numbers. And I think the next year it probably would have hit 80,000, maybe 90,000 units, like, no problem. And I think I some of the Slate, like, marketing is really funny, and I think it really hits a fun little thing. They have one about human taxidermy, which to me is just hilarious. I don't know why. But the baby, the one where the fake Slate they put in Venice, where it had the baby seats on the top, and it was like, call us and we'll take your baby away. So which again, like, really hits. I really feel like they were just, like, trolling. They've just been following me around for 6 months and, like, let's just build a car for Robbie.
Yeah.
Just for you. Just for you.
Robbie, which seems like that's not a great idea.
Except for you.
Not
if
if you're trying to build a sustainable business.
Yeah, but if there are a lot of Robbies out there, and then
That's the question.
there's Robbie variants, then you have a
I'm not
it's like the
convinced.
BRZ, like, on paper the BRZ shouldn't sell. Like, when you think about it, it doesn't have a lot of power. It's manual transmission. It's only got 2 doors. It's rear-wheel drive.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't sell in huge volumes.
But it sells, and they're all over the place here where I live. Because
How many units does anyone do we know? How much does that sell? How many units?
because you have to take in the BRZ and the Toyota. It's not huge, but it's enough to just keep making it. It's enough that they redid it. They
That's
refreshed
true.
it.
They did redo it.
Yeah. So if you're, I think this, well, anyway,
Would it be
there's a
enough
Slate.
if the BRZ was a company? Could it exist? If it was
Could it
just, could it exist if the company was BRZ? Like,
if it was just those vehicles, I think
Yeah.
if they were smart about how they're doing production, it would.
they could.
So-
Okay.
Subaru sold 3,345 BRZs in the U.S. in 2024.
You can't be a company with that little a number.
Well, not at a price point starting in the mid $20,000 range. And you can if you're selling $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 supercars.
Yeah.
but not for a cheap little electric truck.
Yeah. So
We have to hope there's more than 3,000 Robbies.
Well,
yeah,
and
you gotta hope.
let's see how many.
You need
I think we're going to
60,000
measure that. Like, as the sales come in, I'm not going to call it units. I'm going to be like, there
Robbies.
were
They need.
10,000 Robbies
I
this
think they need
month.
I think they need 60,000 Robbies a year.
60,000 Robbies, you think?
I think so.
Toyota did sell 11,400 GR86s last year. So combined, you're looking about 15,000.
That's not enough
in the US
Robbies.
last year.
That's not enough Robbies. That is
That's enough
not enough
Robbies if you own a company. I feel like a lot of them are sold here though, like in Northern California. I think Northern California.
No, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
it's just,
definitely.
it's the same temperature. It's why there's a ton of motorcycles up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Regional,
motorcycle
very
sales,
regional.
yeah, it's a very regional vehicle. So yeah, we'll see how many units of Robbie. I think they need 60,000 units of Robbie to make it work for
60,000 units of Robbie.
At least 60,000 Robbie units to make that work.
Robbie units. That actually sounds like an actual Robbie units. It's like on the Scoville scale. How many Robbie units or something?
it'll I don't think they need a Cybertruck or a Volkswagen Beetle situation where a bunch of people buy it and then it just craters right afterwards.
Did they say anything about, for example, who are they building their own motors, their own electronics?
They won't talk about. They're not going to talk about their suppliers outside of SK is what they've told me. Because
they have a battery vendor and that's it.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because I know the rumored, and I think it's the Jeff Bezos connection of his, he's giving them money, and I think it would just be funny if even if it was losing money, he would just keep giving it money just to spite Elon. And so anytime
it's kind of like
billionaires fight and they're losing money, but other people benefit, I'm happy.
It's kind of like Lucid. Lucid, has never been close to break even, but their main backer is the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund.
Yeah.
And
so that whole company is, they have the best engineering for EVs.
Yeah.
Bar none. But it's also powered by spite.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of ex-Tesla people there, and they're like, you know what? Spite's pretty powerful.
It is.
What's this powered by? Spite. You're like, what? What did you say? Spite? Like, yes. The Lucid Air,
powered by spite.
And best engineered sedan in the world. What's it powered? Spite. Lucid Gravity. Wow. Even like, wow, this is impressive. Wow, how did they do all this? Spite.
All right. Well, you have to. I know you have to leave in a few minutes, Robbie.
Yeah.
But before you do, I just want to touch on kind of the polar opposite of what you just saw. On that very same day, Ford announced the Platinum Plus package for the Ford Super Duty trucks. So Platinum wasn't good enough. They came to the realization that there were still customers that were buying Super Duty Platinums that had more money left in their bank accounts that could be siphoned off. And so they added the Platinum Plus package, which is basically a package of some extra trim and things. It only has one interior, what do they call it? Smoked. Hold on. Smoked truffle.
Smoked truffle.
Yeah. So
really?
all of the Super Duties, it's kind of a tan colored interior theme.
I get it. I guess it kind
looks
of
really
looks
nice.
like truffle.
Who? I mean, okay. I love a delicious smoked truffle.
Me too.
I am not your average big giant Ford truck buyer though.
Yeah.
Like I want
Are you
the
saying
one.
big giant Ford truck guys can't like truffles?
I feel like big giant truck guys don't like even want to hear the word or say the word truffle. I think they
don't know because
mushroom.
I mean the people buying these high end Super Duties, they're the guys that own the ranch.
Exactly.
They're not the workers. They buy a dozen, 20 Super Duties.
This is their tax write-off.
This is like John Dutton's personal vehicle in
Yeah,
Yellowstone.
Cowboy
It's
Batman.
not
This is Cowboy Batman.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
not
listen
like
to his voice. He's Cowboy Batman.
yeah, this is Cowboy Batman's car. This is not Cowboy Batman's newly hired guy who's shoveling horse poo.
Yeah, this is the
So-
guy who just was born into wealth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the F-250 Platinum Plus starts at $99,455, including destination of
Wow.
$2,095.
How much?
$99,455.
Robbie's stunned. He's like, I didn't hear it right. So
And-
what does it get
Now
you?
I feel better about the Slate people.
6.7 liter diesel V8 4-wheel drive, unique wheels, premium leather, smoke
Unique.
truffle, seats, door panels, grab handles, upper dash, and center console, illuminated scuff plates, the crazy fancy front seats, Pro Power on board.
What's really special about Platinum Plus is
That's what I'm
the
trying to
Platinum Plus
find.
experience. It's the experience that you get. So, for example, you get
Sorry.
2 years or $25,000 or 25,000 miles of premium maintenance that covers all inspections, preventative care, and replacement of wear and tear items. You get an elite welcome call from a Ford concierge when you buy one.
Ooh.
You get a welcome package with a tribute item.
What's the tribute item? What does that mean?
It's something
like
curated.
a child? Is it
Huh?
is
I
it a
wanna
child
know.
from one of the districts? Is it like
It could be. It might be. Who knows?
I volunteer as tribute, and there's just a child shows up at your house in a box?
They're doing, kind of the frequent flyer thing. As you go up in status in your frequent flyer program, you get more bonus points and more
Blue tier
discounts and
of
stuff
Ford
like that.
Pass
So-
rewards.
So the Ford Pass rewards, you get the maximum number of points per dollar spent. Plus you get bigger discounts on accessories. You get early access to new software features. So you can be a beta tester, so you can pay extra and be a beta
I
tester.
was going to say, I don't know if that's a good thing.
You get a guided virtual tutorial to learn
We've
all
lost
about the
Robbie.
new truck. So
Wait, I guided to
Wait,
virtual
but then-
tutorial.
but then you
So
also
they will
get
they basically get on a Zoom call with you and walk you through
a
everything in the truck.
one-on-one texting with Ford truck experts whenever you have a question. One-on-one texting. Who's the guy who has to get texted at 2:00 in the morning with some random text question about how to
Yes.
hook up a trailer?
And you also get access to exclusive premium Platinum Plus events, whatever that might be.
Well, they do what did they do? The big thing they did in Detroit, and they revealed a bunch of stuff, and they had a bunch of high
Yeah.
Ford owners who were probably had bought Ford after Ford after Ford. I bet it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They'd be in that group.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
don't-
cool.
I think the fact that a concierge is going to call you, I'm on that. I don't need people calling me. I don't want to. My job involves me calling and talking to people all the time. And when I'm not doing my job, I don't even want to call in food. I make my wife call like the Chinese restaurant to order food. I'm like, you call, I'll go pick it up.
You're all stuck on the call. Still stuck on what is the tribute item?
It's
Somebody
a
needs
child
to
from
tell
one
me
of the
what it
districts.
is.
They didn't really get into detail.
I want to know.
on that.
Can't somebody tell us? What does that
There,
mean?
there,
And
yeah,
you
there are
even have
people
it
who
in
are going to
quotes,
buy
like
this.
tribute item. What does that mean? Am I getting a fancy paperweight? shaped
Remember
like
when
a
we got
Ford?
the what was that trip? It was the Mustang. Yeah, it was the Mustang 500 GT 500.
Yeah.
Oh
They gave
yeah,
us-
with that casting of the supercharger case.
Yes,
Yeah, I have one
that-
of those upstairs.
I have one somewhere. I don't even know where it's at.
Is
It's
it
just
that
like a-
something like
it's just-
that?
I think
Probably.
it's
Yeah.
probably something like that. It's probably like a casting. It's probably like a little casting of a
I
truck.
need to
Or
know.
maybe a 3D
Somebody,
printed model of your truck.
I
Oh,
want somebody
yeah.
to buy this and tell me what the tribute item is. If anyone buys this, will you please tell me what the
Yeah.
tribute item is?
If
Also,
you
oh
are
my gosh, why are you buying this? Tell me that too.
So
I see people buying this. This is like,
Oh,
I have
yeah.
a lot of money. I'm
Yeah.
like, the
Oh,
Dutton
absolutely.
guy.
I
I-
think there's more
I
people who
pretend
would
like
buy
my hands are dirty, but they're really like Robbie's hands. They're like
Robbie. No, but I
after
think
years
there's
of working on
more.
the farm and building up all these calluses, they're gone. They're
I
gone.
think
I
there's
can't touch
more
all
anything
that
hot
all
or-
that dead
buy
skin, all that dead callus skin, his cells have long since worn away.
Yeah, there's still like a little bit, but it's yeah, I can't touch. I'm like, hold on, let me go get my work gloves to work on a car because my hands are all like soft like a baby's butt.
So
But
I
they-
think there could be more people who buy this than there could be the Slate.
Oh no, I
You
don't
may
know.
well be right. I'm sure there
no.
will certainly be more revenue from this.
Definitely
yeah,
more
this-
revenue
this-
for
they're gonna sell
good
3 of
gravy, yes.
these and make
And
more
they've made more
revenue.
than Slate makes in a year. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there could be a lot of people. They don't break
Now we
out
have-
trim levels and stuff for the F-150, do they?
and,
It's just
and,
all F.
and on top of
Oh
those,
yeah, we'll never figure it out.
We'll never know. It's just F series, isn't it? They don't break it
Yeah,
out.
they don't break it out. That
On-
sucks.
on top of those base prices for the Platinum Plus, you can still add on additional stuff. Like, for example, the Platinum Plus comes with 4-wheel drive and the diesel engine, but you can, if you want, you can add a Tremor package or an FX4 package. So Tremor adds another $4,500 on top of that. You can get a heavy duty towing package. There's all kinds of additional stuff that you can add on there. So the ability to spend money on on a Super Duty is nearly limitless.
Yeah, the F series is that's just printing cash for Ford. Slate needs an F series.
The ones they had on display had the hard tonneau cover on there, which is $1,200 for the hard folding tonneau cover. And it's just there's so much more. It just goes on and on.
People have money. Okay, so here's a
Well, and that's what I said at the beginning.
Here's a potential.
Ford realized that some of their Super Duty premium customers still had money left over.
Yep.
So how do we get that?
Here's the customer. They buy this for themselves, but then for the work on the farm, they realize I can just get a Slate, and I can use all the tax benefits of that. And so people are just driving around with hay in the back of a Slate.
Yeah,
Because
5-foot bed and a Slate, you could probably put 3 or 4 bales.
$15,000.
Yeah, you'd probably get 3 or 4 bales in the back end in the
Oh,
5-foot bed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you could get 10. You just rope it over.
Oh yeah, if you
throw a
stack
rope
them up,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, it's 5-foot bed.
I'm still trying to figure out what the tribute is, and they don't say anywhere. I'm like on
No, they
Ford's
don't.
site now. I do have limited hours.
The tribute
for
is
the-
a Slate. You just get a Slate.
that you can put in the bed.
Or they give you a Maverick.
They give you a Maverick. Like, here you go. Here's a
They give you a Maverick for your 16-year-old.
Yep. Here's for the kids.
Huh.
All right.
Pick up Platinum Plus. Man, that is.
I need to know what the tribute is. I'm stuck on this.
You'll have to call Elizabeth Kraft and ask her.
Yeah, just
I'm gonna message someone right now. I'm gonna be
They're
like,
gonna
what the heck
sell a
is
lot
the
of.
tribute?
Yeah, there's a lot of. This truck will have a little bit of mud on it, and then that's about it. It's just driving around.
Well, it'll have some mud, from the dirt driveway up to your huge
Your
mansion
ranch.
on your ranch.
Yeah, your giant ranch
Yeah,
house.
this is
Or going out to the fishing pond.
or going out to the construction site with all your contractors who have just a work truck that's all banged up.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And then Cadillac teased yet another EV variant this week. They're adding a V series version of the Optiq. No details on it yet, just a couple of teaser images. But the Optiq-V is coming later this year as a 2026 model. And the Optiq is based on the Equinox platform, same battery and everything. So presumably, my guess is the Optiq-V will probably use the motors from the all-wheel drive, the standard version of the all-wheel drive Lyric. So somewhere around 500-ish horsepower.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Every car needs an angry version, it needs an off-road version, and it needs a midnight version. That's the rule. It's got to be the rough and tumble version, the I can drive really fast from one stoplight to the other version, and then the one where you can't, everything is blacked out.
You're not wrong.
We got a sweet deal on black paint.
We're gonna make the most of it.
Black paint was on sale like 5 years ago, and everyone bought barrels upon barrels upon barrels.
Now they got to figure out what to do with the black paint.
I don't know. What do we do?
All right. Let's talk about the Shanghai Motor Show. Last week we talked about New York. Oh, see you next time, Robbie.
Hi, everyone. I'm not going to be able to talk about the Shanghai Motor Show, which is very disappointing, but I'll see you all next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So Shanghai, lots of stuff going on in Shanghai. Last week I think we had 5 or 6 product introductions at the New York Auto Show.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
At Shanghai there was, I believe, 93.
So it's a little bit more going on there, just a skosh more than what's happening in New York right now.
Just a tad more than what happened in New York.
Mhm.
And a lot of really interesting stuff too. Yeah, I think it's so much nice stuff in China that we can't
A
have.
lot of people get nice stuff that we can't have. A lot of places in the world get cool stuff, and they
I
look at
know
us and they go,
it's
"Not for you."
it's really starting to annoy me.
It's getting under
Like,
your skin now, Sam.
yeah. So Audi, interestingly enough,
Mhm.
has launched a new sub brand, and guess what it's called?
What's it called?
Audi.
Wait, what now?
They
Audi
actually announced this
launches
last year.
Audi.
So the traditional the standard Audi word mark that you see when you look at a new Audi, the where it has the Audi nameplate on there.
Yes.
The font, the way it's written there, it's capital A and then lowercase UDI. This new Audi sub brand is only for China, and it's Audi in all caps and no 4-ring logo. So just all caps Audi, no 4 rings.
That
That is
is not confusing at all.
no, not even remotely.
Not even a little bit confusing.
So I don't know why they're bothering, but
Does it wait, Audi have regular Audis in China?
oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
they
just
sell a
suddenly
lot of
like,
them.
okay, that's what I thought. So now people in China have Audi and Audi, and they have to look at the font to see which one they're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no 4 rings, but they unveiled the first model for the new Audi sub brand in this week in Shanghai, and it's called the E5. Is it Sportback or just
Sportback.
the E5 Sportback. I really like this car.
It looks super cool.
Yeah.
China, and it is China only. Okay, nowhere else. Okay.
Yep. It's a China only model. I really like the design. It's kind of wagonish. 5-door. They call it a Sportback, but it's not like the fastback, that we typically think of when we think of Audi Sportback models. What do you think of this thing?
It's got a funky design. Like, as I'm looking at it right now, it does have kind of a wagon, especially in profile, a very wagon-ish design to it.
Mm-hmm.
It does not look like Audi with the rings. Is that how we should call it? Audi
Yeah.
without the rings does not look like Audi with the rings. It looks entirely different.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look like the same brand. It does look like an entirely different brand. In the interior too, like they have, I think, do they have a few interior? I just see one. Maybe there's more. There's more interior shots. The interior is just it's very different. I like how this looks. Look at the steering wheel, Sam. It's funky. It's like curved, but just flat on it's like a flat bottom, flat top, but slightly different. This
Mm-hmm.
is kind of slick looking. I love the look of this thing.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like the steering wheel in your Jeep.
It is, but my Jeep steering wheel is a little bit more square. This one has more rounding on the edges, I think. It looks great. Look at the wheels. Like all this looks cool.
And it's got the coast to coast displays that are becoming very common in China.
Yeah.
You also have the digital side mirrors, so you get the displays on the ends there.
Those are so cool. Are we not allowed to have those? Is that another legal thing?
We can have, they can put those in the car, but they still have to have conventional mirrors.
And that's regulations, right?
That's a regulation, yeah.
I love digital side mirrors. They're so cool. But
the only thing about this interior that I don't like is it looks like you probably have to control the vents through some interface.
No,
it doesn't look like there's any vents with a handle on them to grab.
Oh, you're right. I'm scanning down this interior. Oh, it doesn't look. Oh, this is so disappointing.
I know. They're doing that a lot in China now.
Well, it's the wrong choice.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that later.
We will.
Yeah. All right. So that was Audi. Volkswagen Group had, like they've traditionally done in the past, at other big auto shows, particularly in Europe. They have a Volkswagen Group night, which is usually the evening before the main media press day at an auto show. So they've done this in the past at Frankfurt. They do it in Munich, Paris. So Audi was one of the Audi E5 was one of the things they showed at the VW Group night. And then they showed off a bunch of new Volkswagen branded models, which are also for China only. The rest of the world can't have these because we can't have nice things. They showed 3 concepts, all of which are coming to production starting next year, starting in 2026. They showed a 3-row SUV, a mid-size-ish to compact to mid-size-ish crossover, and a 4-door compact sedan. The SUV is hold on, let me make sure I get the right names here.
Yeah, I think that's the era, the ID era.
Yes, the SUV is the ID era, and then there's the ID Aura, which is the compact sedan, which is sort of a Jetta-sized sedan, and the ID Evo is that compact to midsize crossover. All of these look way better than the ID4.
Yeah, they
I think.
actually look really good. It's hard to tell in this, the one in the image, the gray SUV. That one makes me think of Hyundai Palisade, something about the
It
headlights
does,
in the
yeah.
front. And
Yeah, because it's
just
got the
that
kind of
one.
stacked horizontal
Yeah, it has a Palisade
slot.
vibe to it. The
Yeah.
other two don't at all, but somehow it's just the front and the headlights. But it looks really good. These all look great. These are all cool looking vehicles. They're all that we will never have. That we will never
Yeah,
have.
so these, VW Group has several different joint venture partners in China. The Era was done with their partners at SAIC, Shanghai Automotive Industries Company. The Evo, the sedan, was done with Volkswagen Anhui. And then the Aura was done with FAW, First Auto Works. And interestingly, the FAW, the Aura, actually that's the sedan, is the first model based on the new compact main platform that they've developed that's going to be used for a whole bunch of vehicles. They're going to be launching, I think, something like 20 new models, or 30 new models through between now and the end of 2027. So in the next 2.5 years, 30 new models, including 20 new energy vehicles. So those are hybrids or battery electric and plug-in hybrids and e-revs. The first one of those is this is the Aura, and this one has a 900 volt electrical system, as does the Evo. Or the Evo has an 800 volt system.
800. Yeah.
The Aura is going to be the first one that uses a new electronic architecture that was developed in partnership with Xiaopeng, which is another Chinese automaker, and Horizon Robotics, which is a Chinese chip company, and then using Volkswagen software. So this has one of these modern centralized electronic architectures. So there's central compute instead of a whole bunch of dozens to 100 electronic control units scattered around the vehicle. And they're VW is doing a similar thing for the rest of the world. That's their partnership with Rivian. So in China, they're working with Xiaopeng, and the rest of the world, they're working with Rivian. But same basic idea. And these the Era, the big 3-row, is looks like it's can't tell if it's a plug-in hybrid or an e-rev, but it has 300 kilometers, 200 miles of range, almost 180 miles of range in battery mode.
Yeah.
So that's based on the Chinese test cycle. So it's probably going to be somewhere around 120-ish miles. So they say the concept altogether can travel about 1,000 kilometers. So it's about 600 miles. So probably about 500-ish miles in total between the battery and the range extender. It's fuel powered generator. So yeah, it's a range extender, not a plug-in hybrid. This is the kind of thing we need more of here. I think this would really appeal to consumers in the US.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's sort of new. It's a new idea here. I guess I would say it's new. So we'll have to see how the idea of that range extender like that how well it goes over here.
Yeah, the Ram Charger is going to be the first one that we get.
Right.
And then Scout is doing one, and Ford, I think Ford and GM, I'm pretty sure, are both working on range extenders for a couple years from now. But they're focusing them on their big trucks and SUVs rather than on smaller vehicles,
small things. Yeah.
And all of these have what they refer to in China as a level 2++ system. So this is kind of it's a hands-free system like Super Cruise. Interestingly, in the press release, they do not mention hands-free. Because I think last week, did we talk last week about the new regulations in China?
I think we talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this says you can reach level 2++.
Yeah,
which means in certain situations, cars will be able to drive fully autonomously, including overtaking and turning maneuvers and independently merging into traffic with the driver's supervision. So you still need to be paying attention.
Right. So it's kind of like Super Cruise, but it'll also work on city streets. So more like autopilot or FSD, Tesla FSD is kind of that. The adding the city streets in addition to highways is kind of where the second plus comes from.
Got it.
Yeah.
2++. I've never seen it like the 2++. Is that a thing they just came up with, or is that like
they've been using that term in China for a couple of years now?
Okay, I'd never seen that before. Neat.
Yeah. So that's 3 new models. The first 3 of a bunch of new models coming to the Chinese market from Volkswagen, and it's a shame that we won't see these here, because especially that sedan. I really like that sedan.
The sedan is nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, not for us. Wah,
wah. Other nice things that we can't have.
Yes. What else can't we have, Sam?
The Buick Electra GS. This is part of, Buick is launching a new platform for China as well. They're calling it their super architecture. And Buick also has a new sub brand for new energy vehicles. But unlike Audi, they are not just calling it Buick all in caps and without the 3 shield logo.
Yeah.
They actually have a different name for it. Their sub brand is Electra.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it's all electrified vehicles. So yeah, makes total sense.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. And like the new VW platform, it is a centralized compute architecture, this super architecture, and they're going to have a bunch of models based on this, some of which they showed in Shanghai, including a van, a crossover, and this really cool looking sedan, the Electra GS, which I really like this thing.
It does. You know what? I kind of like it too. It has this very it has a very future look to it. Like, you ever see vehicles and you think like, okay, that could appear in a movie that's supposed to talk about the distant future and it's going to drive itself. Like, it looks cool. It looks very sleek. I like the design of it. I think this is a sexy looking vehicle that we're not going to get.
Yeah. Sadly, we won't, because, we've got people who think that EVs are dumb. And so we can't have them.
It looks really good, though. They have pictures of it in orange and red. Oh my goodness. It's a really good looking car.
Yeah, I like the orange gold one, but the red's really good too.
Oh, check out the funky steering wheel. Did you look at the interior shots?
Yeah.
There's no top.
It's a yoke.
It's a yoke. It looks weird though. That always looks to me like it belongs in the cockpit of a ship, like something flying. It does not look like it belongs into like a spaceship. It doesn't look like it belongs in a car when it's that kind
of. So this is the Electra GS. It's a pretty big car, 5.3 meters long. So this is comparable in size. This would be like a full size sedan. So this is a big car, but there's definitely still a market for those in China. And then they also have this luxury electric van that let's see, do they have the name for it? Don't know if they I don't think they gave it a name yet. But the van and a crossover, and there's going to be a bunch of other stuff coming as well.
I mean, it's a neat looking design. I think they're like the van is kind of funky looking too.
Yeah, but they've had these interesting vans over there for a while. Like Buick's had the GL8 in China. They've had a couple of generations of the GL8 sedan. And this is kind of like what we saw from Faraday back in.
That's what I was thinking.
January at
It
CES.
reminds me of the Faraday. That's exactly what I was thinking, Sam.
Or the Toyota Alphard that they have in Japan.
Yep. Yeah. It looks very not what we get for vans here. Very different from what we're probably used to.
Yeah. And then let's see. Okay, so that's it for Buick. Toyota also had some stuff in Shanghai. They showed. Let's see. Let me find the
BZ7.
The BZ7, yeah.
And the Lexus ES they showed off too.
So the ES is definitely something we're getting here. And I'm guessing that this is probably one of the things that we're going to see in a few weeks when we go down to Plano. You're going to Plano, right?
I am going to Plano. Yes, I will see you there.
Yeah. So Toyota's doing another one of their big events at their
Toyota
Plano,
Palooza.
Texas headquarters, and they're going to show off some new product, and believe the ES is one of those things. I doubt we'll see the BZ7, but the ES is on a new platform. Which is electrified only. So it's going to be available as a battery electric or hybrid. And again, I don't know if we will get the battery electric here in the U.S. market. Toyota has said they're going to be bringing more BEVs to the U.S. market. It would probably make sense to do this one for Lexus. I think that they're probably likely to have some reasonable success, especially if it's got better range than when they first launched the RZ, and it probably will because it's a new architecture. And then the hybrid will probably be the standard one. So it'll probably be like with the Camry. When they redid the Camry last year, they went hybrid only, and so we'll probably have standard hybrid ES, and then maybe the BEV as well. What do you think of the design of the ES?
You know what? It has I try to look at those door panels. Is that actually like sculpted on the door panel, or is that just black accent?
Yeah. No, it is sculpted, I think.
It has this very aggressive line that runs from from the front door down and then across to the rear wheels. And it looks kind of funky.
Yeah, it's kind of like a side scoop.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's it's a little, because it's definitely different. The ES has always been a very pleasant but not very exciting design.
I mean, this definitely gives it more, and it has a sort of a long hood that chopped off front for EVs. I just can't, when they're just flat like that, I'm not a fan. But I like how it looks. Have you looked at the inside?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the screens? What is happening there?
Let's see.
It looks like you put two laptop screens on the dashboard next to each other.
On the ES?
Yes.
No, I think. Are you?
Am I looking?
I think you might be looking at the BZ7.
Is that the BZ7? Is that what it is? Wait. No, it says. Wait. It says Lexus on the steering wheel of the car I'm looking at in this image.
I don't see that one.
It's ginormous screens.
That might be the China version.
It has to be the China version. There's no way we're gonna get this. It looks like you opened your laptop and just broke off the screen and went poof, poof, and put two of them on the dashboard.
No, the images. Oh, there it is. Okay, I see it.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Does it not look like?
It does have a second screen.
It looks like two laptop screens just slapped onto the dashboard.
Yeah, that is a little peculiar looking.
It's a little different looking. They're not, guys, you know how, okay, to describe for people. So normally when screens like sort of span the dashboard, they're normally a little thinner, like they're sort of squished down. This is looks like it has the height of a laptop screen. So they're rectangular, but they're very tall.
It looks like two 14-inch laptop displays.
Yeah.
Side by side.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get that. Do you think they do that? It does
I
say
don't
it's a
think so.
prototype. I can't see
Yeah.
that being what we
I,
get.
I don't
But
I don't think we'll see that here in the US. I think that's
yeah,
probably for, if they do that, it's probably for the China market only.
yeah,
I think we'll probably just get a single display, which is fine.
yeah.
I
Because
don't
that
I don't think we
display
need
is
that second one.
bizarre. That's
Yeah.
weird looking.
Yeah, because
And
I
it's
was
probably it's weird because I'm not used to it here. I suppose if you're in China and this is more that market, it might make more sense.
yeah, I
Here
was
it
looking
looks.
at the photos on the US Lexus media site, which
Oh,
they only show one interior shot and it only has the single display.
see, I've gone too deep. I've gone too deep is what's happened.
Yeah, you're looking at the Toyota Global media site,
Okay.
which has stuff that they showed in China. But yeah, we probably won't get that here. But they I do like the ES in that Sonic Copper,
Yeah, the
which,
copper color is cool.
yeah, that's a similar color to what they have on the RX. And I hope they offer that on the ES here.
It's a really good looking car. I mean, it
Mhm.
really does look great. The exterior is great. I like the design of it. I think it looks neat. Um, yeah, I'll be curious to see what comes here.
So yeah, we will probably be seeing that in about 3 weeks' time, roughly, I think.
I would think it's about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So good for that one. So yeah, good to see a nice update for the ES.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, and then let's see what else do we have from China. Well, the BZ7. We didn't really talk about the BZ7.
Did we not talk about the BC7? I
I
thought we
mentioned
mentioned
it, but
it.
we haven't commented on it
We haven't
really.
commented. I'm glad that it's just BZ7 and not BZ73X4. I don't like the no. I have to look it up all the time because I never like lowercase b, capital Z. Then there's a number. Then there's a capital X, and somehow I can't remember. I have to look it up.
It's the greenhouse is kind of like the Crown, but I
Hmm.
think overall it's got better proportions than the Crown.
It looks to me like maybe it's just because of how it's styled, but it looks longer. Like the Crown has
Yeah.
this sort of squashed, like they chopped off the ends of it. This one has a more sloped, fastback kind of look to the back of it. So it's more pleasing to the eye. It's a much more appealing vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like this better.
Yeah, I think
Um,
this would do better.
and it's kind of got a similar type of the headlight treatment that you've got on the Prius and some of the other more recent Toyota stuff, that kind of hooked around on the ends there and then light bar wrapping around. I think it's a good look. I think it works well on this thing.
Yeah, I think especially the work they've done, the back half of this looks so much better, drastically different and much better.
Yeah. All right. And that, of course, is also an EV because
Mhm.
it's for China. That's what they get.
Correct. They get all the EVs.
Yep. All right. Then one other one from Shanghai was a Nissan. The China is getting a where is it now?
A plug-in hybrid
A plug-in
Frontier.
hybrid Frontier.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is a completely different vehicle from our Frontier. So they've taken the name of the pickup truck that Nissan sells here and put it on a pickup truck for the Chinese market that is something totally different.
It's called the Dongfeng Z9 pickup.
Yeah.
So it has the Frontier badge, but it is in no way at all a Frontier.
Yeah. It's going to launch in China, but they do have plans to export it, although I'm sure not to the US because, we're slapping all kinds of tariffs on everything.
Mhm.
But let's see. It has a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, along with a transmission mounted electric motor, produces 402 horsepower, 590 foot-pounds of torque. And it's targeted to offer 83 miles of electric range.
That's not bad.
Yeah. And
That is not
again,
bad at all.
with the test cycle they use in China,
A little less.
83, it'd probably be about somewhere between 50 and 60 miles.
So that's still good. That's still
Yeah.
a good range. That's
I mean,
still very good.
that will let most people do most of their daily driving without using any gas.
Yeah.
And then when they want all the power, they've got 400 horsepower, which is quite a bit more than what we get. It's possible that we could see this powertrain end up in the U.S. market frontier?
Maybe, but not. They haven't said
I mean,
anything about it.
Nissan has said they're doing more hybrids and plug-in hybrids for North America. So we could see something like this, not this exact truck, but definitely something like this.
Yeah, I would like to see something. I think this would be a little plug-in hybrid pickup truck like this could do quite well here.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the main highlights. I mean, there was so much more from Shanghai,
Yeah.
but those are some of the main ones that I wanted to call on. Let's talk about the Navigator.
The Navigator. Okay.
So, when last week we were talking, you had crossed the country 4 times in a week.
Oh my God. I just went back and forth the whole week.
Yeah. And one of those back to California jaunts was to drive the new 2026 Navigator. I
Yes.
also drove it. I drove it I drove it while you were in Florida driving the Cupra. I
Yes.
kind of wish we had traded places. I think I would have rather driven the Cupra. What did you think of the Navigator?
I liked it. I mean, it's the interesting thing about the Navigator. They've, it's new. They've updated a lot, but it's still very much a Navigator in the ways that people like this vehicle will still appreciate. It's this great big luxury SUV with all the bells and whistles. It has a beautiful interior. It's smooth. It's quiet. I mean, I feel like it does exactly what you expect a luxury SUV to do. What did you think, Sam? Your first impression?
The center console is very wide.
The center console is very wide.
This is a very large
yes.
vehicle,
Yes,
but
it
at
is.
least in the front row, it doesn't feel hugely roomy in the front because that center console is so wide.
It is wide.
Yeah.
I mean, it with the good thing. See, I don't mind the wide center console because underneath it, so there's the top part that has like controls and stuff. There's a little storage shelf underneath it that has a little bit of a lip to it, so it makes it perfect to toss like your wallet or your sunglasses or whatever in there. I like that it makes it wide enough that you can put stuff right in there. It easy to reach and easy to store.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm driving a huge vehicle like this, I like having a feeling of spaciousness inside, and I
Okay.
just don't really get that in here.
Didn't get it. Okay.
And they basically took the same type of dashboard setup that they did last year in the Nautilus, applied that to the Navigator. So it's the same. It's actually the exact same 48-inch curved display that spans across the dashboard. And it's pushed up to the base of the windshield, so it's not a touch screen. Same relatively low information density. So you've got a lot of screen real estate, but you're not actually doing a whole lot with it. So on the passenger side, you can have any of 3 big widgets on there. And there's a few others. You can pick like weather widget, media player widget, and I forget what the other ones are, but you can get to those. And then, as in the Nautilus, the control is primarily through the touchscreen, which is mounted down low and fairly vertical in the center stack.
Yeah.
Which means that, even though this huge display is up there near your line of sight to see, so you're not really looking very far away from the road to see the map or to see, your speed and things like that. To actually manage anything, like, for example, say you wanted to adjust where the vents are blowing.
Yes.
You have to look down
you don't just
away
reach
from the
the
road.
vents. You can't just reach the vents.
No, you have to look way
Oh.
down at the screen, and then, swipe up to get to the climate control panel, and then adjust where you want the vents to blow. And you're spending a lot of time looking away from the road, during which time, the driver monitor system is telling you, hey, look at the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand this. I don't understand the vents in the infotainment. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Every time I complain about it to anybody who does it, they're like, "Well, it's." I'm like, "No, it's a terrible idea. Let us actually just grab. I can reach out without looking, grab the vent, and move it because I can put my hand on the dashboard, find it without looking at it, and move it until it feels the right spot, as opposed to having to move it on. oh, it's a pet peeve, Sam.
Yeah, and it's a pet peeve that we need to keep reminding every automaker that even considers this. We need to remind everybody at Lincoln, including their new design director, whose name I'm forgetting now, because Kamal moved on to another assignment with Ford
Is it
Performance.
Ryan? Is it Ryan, the one you're
No,
thinking of? Different designer?
no, his boss, the director of
Oh,
design
I can't think
for
of his
Lincoln,
name.
global director of design for Lincoln,
Okay.
a woman. I can't remember her name now.
Sorry, I don't know her name. I'm no
Yeah.
help to you.
Anyway, I complained quite vociferously to her, as I have to everyone else at Lincoln, about
I
why
complained.
this
I
is a
said I
terrible
didn't like
idea.
it too. I said I didn't like it either. And they all just kind of say, well, it's part of keeping things clean and the dashboard looks, I don't care. I don't like
Before
it.
you make it clean, it has to be functional.
Right?
A vehicle has to be functional first of all.
Mhm.
Then you worry about cleaning it up, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So to me, any vehicle that does that has you have to go into a touchscreen to adjust the vents it's just a non-starter for me.
Well, and there was a story a couple of weeks ago. Hyundai somewhere came out and said, we're putting back more actual physical controls in our vehicles over the coming years because we realized there's only so much people want to have in a touchscreen. We realized that we're moving back to physical controls. There's a reason people love volume knobs. Like some things just work better when you have physical controls for them. So I'm hopeful that with Hyundai saying that maybe somewhere in a room deep in the bowels of Lincoln/Ford is a guy going, you know what? We really should bring back some physical controls. Maybe the same thing will happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the Ford side, they have stuck with mostly physical controls. They have
Mm-hmm.
some touch controls across the bottom edge of their screen, but not for the vents. Things like the vents, volume controls, those are still physical,
Yeah.
and hopefully they will stay with that.
I think it is because it does look clean. I'll give them from a design, but like you said, a design point of view, it looks beautiful, but from a functional point of view, it's a fail.
Yeah. And then, what do you think of the new front end?
I liked it. Did you know? I actually like how the front of it looks. I like the grill. I like how they've done the weave on the grill. I like the lights. I thought it was good. I liked how the styling was. I sense you don't.
I actually prefer the previous version better.
You
I think it was
do. I got to look
I
up
think
the
it was
old one
more
now.
I think it was more distinctive.
24.
For Lincoln, this looks more, I mean, it looks good, but it also looks more generic compared
I'm
to,
looking up. I now have pulled up a 2024 Lincoln Navigator to look next to the 2025. Oh, I guess it was a bit more distinctive. It was busier, I think. This one's a little bit more streamlined, maybe.
yeah, it is.
Little less going on, maybe. I didn't dislike the 20. Here's the thing. I didn't dislike the one for the prior gen. So this one just feels like an evolution of that, and I'm okay with it. But I can see where it's removed features, so it's a little bit more plain on the 25.
Yeah, there's less about it that says, hey, this is a Lincoln. The previous one, I think, it it, it was it had become kind of a signature for the look of Lincoln for the brand. And this one is just, looks like a lot of other stuff to me.
It's not distinctive enough for you. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I would say it is less distinctive than the prior girl. Absolutely.
So did you get a chance to try out Blue Cruise?
I did try out Blue Cruise. I still don't find Blue Cruise as nice as Super Cruise. Sorry, brain cramped on what the other.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the other one? I still find Blue Cruise is a little bit less smooth than I want it to be,
and less consistent in its performance. Part of the drive route was along, was it Interstate 5?
Mm-hmm.
We're in Rancho. We started from Rancho Santa Fe, and so we drove down, got on the interstate, drove some ways along there before heading up into the mountains, and they've made some improvements. There's some improvements in the user interface, so that The Navigator is one of the first models to get the latest version 1.4 of Blue Cruise. So now, when you engage cruise control, it will tell you on the dash when you're in a zone where Blue Cruise is available. So if you're on a
I
road
do
where
think
you can go
that's
hands-free,
better. Yeah,
yeah,
that's way better. The communication, that was one of the negative, like the big negatives about the old system. It wasn't good about communicating when you could and could not use it, when it was off, when it was on. I do feel like that's much better now. It's much easier to understand when you can use it and when it needs you to grab the steering wheel.
yeah. Well, the second part, the when you need to grab the steering wheel, I think it's a little better. The graphics are a little better on the cluster because it does pop up
Mhm.
uh, a bright sort of reddish orange
Yeah.
alert.
It
Say, hey,
catches your
put your
eye
hand.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, more so than it did before. And because
Mhm.
of where the display is near the base of the windshield, it's more in your line of sight than it was before. So I think
Mhm.
that's an improvement. I would still like to see something like the haptic seat feedback that GM has.
Yeah.
I think that works really well. Um, but it's better. But the other issue I had was just with the inconsistency of the performance of the system. Like driving along the interstate, we were in the HOV lane for a while, and HOV lanes in California are pretty clearly marked. You get nice, bright, white, solid lines. It's pretty clear where the lines are. And we were going along, we were in some traffic, and it slowed down to about 30, 40 miles an hour, even in the HOV lane during morning rush hour. And it was, it popped up and said, put your hands back on the wheel. It's like, why? I mean,
Why?
it was on a straight stretch of road. We weren't
Yeah.
going into a curve at, a higher speed or anything like that. And there were a couple of other instances like that where it disengaged for no readily apparent reason. And so I had a conversation with one of the engineers on the Blue Cruise team about that.
Was there an
And
explanation?
they said the day after we left, like on that Sunday, so I was there on Friday and Saturday, and they had the Sunday off, before your wave,
Right.
was driving on Monday. Somebody went out and tried it, and they were able to reproduce it, and they captured some data from the car. And if the HOV lanes in California do have some additional markings, like they've got these white diamonds that are painted on the road, and there's some yellow markings as well along the sides of the lanes. And they think it seems to have gotten confused by the additional markings. It
Okay.
wasn't. I mean, that seems like it should be a no-brainer. HOV lanes in California are they've been around for a long time. They're pretty
Yeah.
well understood. Should be something they should be able to deal with. Apparently not, though.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
they're going to work on that. And they're, as soon as they get the vehicles back in the local fleet here in Detroit, they want to get me one to go out and drive it on some of the places where I've had issues with Blue Cruise before,
Yeah, I'd be curious.
and see, because they think it should do better now than it did before, but they want me to try it out, and then I'm gonna go in and meet with them and give them my feedback on it. So I'll let you know what happens when I get
Yeah,
that
I'd be
sometime in the
curious.
coming
I'd be
weeks.
curious to know. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so there's definitely some improvements with Blue Cruise, but not enough to get it up to speed with Super Cruise or some of the other systems yet.
What did you think about the controls, the two touchpads sort of on the steering wheel? There's like one on the left, one on the right, and depending on what's happening, you can change things. It controls things on the screen, and so there's not markings on the wheel itself except for one little tiny spot in each corner. Everything's showing you on that big screen up ahead of you. What did
Yeah,
you
it's
think of
it's
that?
context aware depending on what modes you're in, and so
Yep.
it can do different things. I'm fine with that one.
Yeah.
Lexus does something similar on the current gen RX. They have a similar type of setup on there.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a combination of touch, so you can do gestures with your thumbs, but it also clicks. So when you want to select something, you actually press, and it's a physical switch under there as well. And I think it works fine.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with it. And, once you get used to it, and again, because of where the display is, it's near your line of sight. So you don't actually have to look down at the steering wheel. With a conventional steering wheel, until you develop that muscle memory of where everything's at, um, then you're going to be looking down at the steering wheel, which is more of a problem for us because we're jumping in different cars all the time.
Right.
I think
Right.
for typical owner, it's less of an issue. But having it, as soon as you touch the pad, then it pops up on the screen and shows you what the controls are, and indicates where your thumb is as you're scrolling around on it. So I actually don't have an issue with that. What do you think of it?
No, I liked it. I was asking you because some of I found it relatively easy to use and pretty intuitive, and quickly kind of got the hang of it. But there were several people that on my wave that found it very difficult, very challenging, and somewhat annoying. And I'm like, gosh, I don't experience that. I'm not normally. Sometimes touchpads do bother me. I found this one intuitive as well. That's why I was asking if you liked it, because I thought it was
Yeah.
good too.
No, I think it works well on this one. And the steering wheel, it's kind of a more squashed down, squircle steering wheel.
Yes, like a
Um,
slight squash, not as big as some of them, but yeah, slightly on the top
yeah,
and bottom.
yeah, because of where the display is, they don't want
Right.
it cutting off the display. That's why it's flattened on the top and on the bottom. And that, given the nature of this vehicle, this is not a sports car by any stretch of the imagination. I was fine with driving with it. I thought the Lucid Gravity, which has a very similar steering wheel shape, I thought it actually worked a little better, mainly because its steering ratio is a lot faster. So there's less often that you have to go past about 120 degrees rotation from
Mm-hmm.
straight ahead. So sometimes, when you've got to make a tight turn, when you're maneuvering around in a parking lot or something like that, it's a little more awkward to use. But it's manageable.
Yeah. I had to come into, I had Henry Payne was my drive partner, who is wonderful and also quite tall. And he climbed into the very back of that SUV to see what it was like. Sat back there, was perfectly comfortable, and he was hilarious. He's like, I like it back here. If I was a kid, I'd want to be back here. I got my own everything. It's comfortable. I got coupled. Just like, this is great. He sat back there, and it was worth noting that we were talking to each other from the back and me up front, and I didn't have to yell at him and he didn't have to yell at me. Like, you could just talk in a nice normal voice because the car is so quiet. You could just talk and we could hear each other, which is normally when someone's in that third row, you're constantly doing the what, because you don't hear them well enough. It was really, and he liked it. And the guy is tall and he's like, I'm not squished. If I was a kid, I'd pick this seat every time.
Yeah, no, I mean that is one advantage of these giant SUVs is the third row is actually really usable even for adults.
Yeah.
So that was not an issue at all. So yeah, anything else about the Navigator that you liked or annoyed you?
No, that was it. I mean, that was it. I liked the design. I liked the quality of the materials, and the comfort and the quiet and the ride. I liked it. Overall, I would give it a thumbs up. Would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down overall? You have to overall recommend or don't recommend. Oh, sideways, sideways.
Slightly up. I mean,
So he's like,
the thing that kills me is the touch screen.
I know the vents. The vents are
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, and
That's
just, I mean, everything about the climate control is in the touchscreen. You can adjust
yeah,
temperature with your voice fairly easily,
yeah,
but everything
yeah.
else is in the touchscreen. And because the touchscreen is mounted down so low and vertical, you have to look away from the road so much in order
That's
to use
true.
it.
That's true. That is definitely a
So
huge
I
drawback.
think that's a
That's a
big
deal breaker for you.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
all right. Was there anything from the interview that you did with Dave Nemec that you want to share?
No, Ryan, it wasn't
Or
Dave, it was
Ryan? No,
Ryan. Ryan.
Ryan.
I'm like,
Sorry,
wait, Ryan.
Ryan.
No,
Ryan Nemec.
it was Ryan.
Yeah.
It was interesting chatting with him, and he is the chief designer at Lincoln. I sat there in the car and chatted with him about the things that they did with the design, and basically, even when we were talking about the vents, they're trying to give these like very broad strokes where it's things go across the entire dashboard and to make it feel open, and also have these very high quality materials, and a craftsmanship that makes it feel like you're in a premium vehicle. I think they did that, the different kinds of materials, especially their black label where they have like these themes. They did a fabulous job of carrying over that real luxury vibe. And one of the things he mentioned too that I thought was neat, a lot of companies are getting rid of like leather and getting rid
Mm-hmm.
of wood because they want to go towards sustainability. And I asked them about that because they're not. You have leather and you have wood. And he said that, sustainability is something they're thinking about, and they're looking at alternative materials that still feel the same way and still do that. But right now they want it to still align with what feels like a Lincoln and what customers expect. So for the time being, they still have a lot of those materials inside of a Lincoln. So it has a very traditional luxury car vibe. Is
Okay.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Christine Cheng is who I was trying to. Her name
You
was
found
trying-
the name.
It was the first time I met her, and we had a chat. We talked about some of the interior stuff, and I shared my thoughts on the touchscreen stuff with her, and she listened. We'll see if that makes a difference in the next
I
generation.
know. I shared my thoughts with someone too, and it was like they listen. They do listen when we say things. They do hear us, and sometimes they have a good reason for what they say. I mean, sometimes because they all want to hear what we think. I think I think the OEMs, if everybody's picking on the same thing, they notice it. But whether they'll change this, I don't know. Sam, I think we got this for a while from Lincoln.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Sadly. All right. Let's see. Let's do one more, which is Walmart. Is right now a lot of Electrify America charging stations are located in Walmart parking lots.
Yeah.
There's about 280 Walmarts that host EA stations, or in some cases EVgo stations. But Walmart has apparently decided that despite some of the challenges with the EV business in the US, they've decided that they want to expand their presence in the EV charging space. They've got about 5,000 Walmart stores and another 600 Sam's Club stores across North America. And they want to put charging stations at most of them. So,
I mean, it kind of makes sense. The nice thing about charging at a Walmart, especially if you're on a road trip, which is the one time I used a ton of them, is you're at a Walmart. So if you want to run inside and use the bathroom, get something to eat, grab supplies, whatever, it's like anything you want is at a Walmart. It's not a bad call.
yeah. And the thing is, Walmart stores tend to be very large, so they tend to have a pretty significant power supply available, which is one of the challenges with doing DC fast charging is you need a lot of power. And because they're already, tend to be very large stores, they've already got a lot of power coming in. And so it's going to be a little bit easier. Tom Malogny on his State of Charge YouTube channel did an interview with the head of the group at Walmart that's doing this. They've got 3 pilots in now, three locations they're testing out different things, testing out charging equipment from different vendors and trying out some different concepts. They plan to expand this network from the 3 to ultimately, hopefully by the end of the decade, most of their locations.
And right now I'm reading a story on Inside EVs about it, and it was saying like they have Electrify America chargers in all their locations. What's going to happen to those Electrify America
that's
chargers?
what I said. There's only 280 of their stores that have EA stations right now.
Yeah,
out of 5,000.
Out of 5,000, but still, like, what happens to like that's
right now he said in the interview that they did with Tom, there's no plans to eliminate those or do anything different. Continue with those, but locations where they don't have other charging vendors there. Those are the ones that they're looking at
they'll
at least to
target
start
first.
with.
Yeah,
Longer term, who knows? I mean, there's been speculation that maybe Volkswagen doesn't want to stay in the charging business for the long term. I mean, the only reason the EA exists is it was part of VW of America's settlement with the government for Dieselgate.
Right.
And so it's possible that, that VW may decide, yeah, we want to sell this off, so maybe they sell it to Walmart or somebody else. And or maybe Walmart takes over those locations, at least at their
That
stores.
makes sense too. Yeah, if they just rebranded them as Walmart locations,
Yeah.
whatever they're going to call their Walmart charging network.
Yeah, the first one that Tom tried out was actually a location in Texas that has these new Alpatronic chargers that are actually 400 kilowatts, which are
Okay.
even faster than the fastest EA chargers right now.
Yeah.
And they're equipped with both CCS and NACS charging cables.
That's a big deal too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got nice big, like there's arms that swing out. So, because the cables are not light, so
They can be so they can't. I thought that's one of my biggest challenges is those cables. When they're cold, they're
they get very
cumbersome to
stiff.
move. They get very stiff, and it's very hard to like depending on how exactly how that cable was sitting. You try to turn it and bend it to plug it into your car. It's like wrestling with a snake. You're like, I cannot get this to bend the way I want. So having something that swung out, that would be really nice. That would make it a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah. So so Walmart is going to get into the charging business.
Interesting.
So, good for them.
Yeah.
That's it for this week.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything else you want to touch on, or shall we say goodbye?
That's it. I think we can say goodbye.
All right. Bye,
See ya,
everybody.
people.